The vast universe has always been a majestic tapestry of light, darkness, and unanswered mysteries. In a far corner of the Andronis galaxy, a massive army is preparing for an invasion they believe will be the easiest campaign in history. Earth, the small blue planet, where reports indicate its inhabitants are living in chaos, fighting for resources, and sinking into internal conflicts. Who are we to stand against enemies who have conquered hundreds of planets? When they possess warships the size of entire cities and weapons capable of burning the sky, what can we, with our tanks, guns, and simple uniforms, possibly do? But, is power everything? As the Andronis army looks down upon this planet with contempt, they have no idea that they are about to face something no other planet has ever taught them: the survival will of humankind. Imagine the first moment when the giant ships tear through the blue sky. The roar of their engines is like thunder, shaking entire cities. In the eyes of millions of people, it is not just fear, but also determination, because when everything is pushed to the edge, humans have nothing left to lose. The Andronis Empire is not just a military force. It is a perfect machine built over thousands of years, unified by hundreds of species and civilizations across distant planets. With each conquest, they not only take territory but also absorb technology, knowledge, and labor from the planets they subjugate. This has made them the ruling empire of the galaxy, almost unbeatable. From their power center on the planet Thera Prime, the Supreme Council of Andronis, composed of the most brilliant and ruthless minds, comes up with a new plan: invade Earth, a small planet located on the fringe of the galaxy. But for them, this is not a real war, it is merely a test for the young soldiers who have never seen battle. Earth, Commander Quarnes said, his voice dripping with disdain during a strategy meeting. They are nothing more than primitive creatures living off the resources of their planet. They have no space fleet, no energy weapons, and they can't even get past the borders of their tiny star system. We will wipe them out in 3 light cycles. Intelligence reports from Andronis spies only reinforce this belief. Humans are described as weak beings, easily divided by greed and selfishness. Earth's history is riddled with wars between nations and empires, and there has never been any global unity. They also lack any significant advanced technology in fields like astronomy or high-energy weapons. The Andronis scientists further studied human culture and ideology, which only made them look down on Earth more. The science fiction films, heroic stories from human cultures, are seen as naive fantasies, impractical. A planet mired in social issues like climate change, poverty, and the Cold War between superpowers could never be a worthy adversary for a great empire like Andronis. This will be an exercise, a real-world lesson for the new soldiers, another general spoke up. We'll send just enough of a fleet, no need to mobilize the entire force. It would be a waste of resources to invest too much in such a negligible target. The campaign was named Iron Grip, a name reflecting Andronis' familiar approach to every conquest: strike fast, tighten control, and dominate completely. The invading fleet consists of more than 500 warships, led by the super flagship Seal Stara, a technological marvel stretching 10 kilometers long with firepower capable of destroying an entire planet. But for Andronis, sending such a super ship was merely to showcase power, not because they thought they would need it. Meanwhile, the Andronis commanders hardly expressed any concern about Earth's ability to resist. All strategic scenarios predict that humans would quickly surrender when faced with the Andronis fleet. In their minds, Earth's people would either die or submit and become slaves to the Empire. But amidst the calculations and arrogance of the Supreme Council, no one ever asked, what if they were wrong? What if Andronis' intelligence reports didn't truly reflect the nature of humanity? What Andronis failed to realize was that humans have spent millions of years fighting for survival. Through dark ages, wars, and fear, humanity has developed a unique instinct, the ability to adapt and find ways to survive even in the harshest conditions. But Andronis couldn't see that. They only saw numbers, graphs, and the outward image of a species that seemed weak. At the departure ceremony at the command center, the young Andronis warriors boarded their ships, their eyes shining with the belief that victory was assured. They had no idea that this mission would not resemble any previous battle. As the Andronis fleet began to traverse the dark expanse of space, they could not know that ahead of them was not a mere exercise, but a painful lesson in arrogance. And that lesson would forever change how they viewed Earth, the tiny planet they once thought was an easy target. The Andronis Empire fleet moved like a ghost in the dark of space, each massive ship drifting silently through the void, emitting the characteristic blue light of plasma energy technology. Inside each warship, the soldiers, rigorously trained, were preparing for what they considered to be a field training exercise. To them, Earth was not a real battlefield, but just a training target. In the strategy rooms aboard the flagship Seal Stara, senior officers discussed the details of the attack plan. 3D images of Earth appeared on the screens, with various areas clearly marked, major cities, military bases, and positions they deemed to be potential threats, although in reality, most of them were considered insignificant. Earth has no capability to resist, an analyst officer said, pointing at the charts on the screen. They have no space fleet. No energy shields. Their weapons rely on chemical explosives, technology we've abandoned for thousands of years. They don't even have the ability to detect our stealth technology. The military leaders nodded in agreement. To bolster their confidence, they reviewed satellite footage. Tanks moving sluggishly, outdated fighter jets, and surface warships, all of them appeared to be ancient scraps in the eyes of the Andronis. Another officer stood up, his gaze self-assured. Our strategy is simple. Use stealth technology to approach Earth without being detected. Once we enter the atmosphere, we will launch plasma energy weapons in a coordinated strike on the largest cities, New York, Tokyo, Moscow, Beijing, and Delhi. They won't have time to respond. The plan was divided into 3 phases. 1. Overwhelm from the start. The goal was to destroy major cities and break the morale of humanity's resistance. 2. Neutralize military installations. By using precise plasma weapons and quick-hit tactics, they believed they could eliminate Earth's ability to fight back completely. 3. Force surrender. After humanity witnessed the destruction and had no means to fight, the Supreme Council of Andronis would order the unconditional surrender of Earth's government. We must remember this is not a war, a commander emphasized. This is a lesson for them, to show them that resistance is futile. Let's make it quick and efficient. We don't want to waste resources. Laughter echoed in agreement throughout the meeting room. In the eyes of the Andronis, Earth was a backward, weak planet unworthy of their serious consideration. But in their contempt, they overlooked many important factors. They didn't know that Earth's armies, although technologically inferior, had spent decades preparing for scenarios that seemed utterly unrealistic, including an alien invasion. They didn't realize that these outdated weapons actually had advantages in unexpected battles, because they didn't depend on the technologies Andronis was accustomed to, which could easily be neutralized. They also failed to understand that the human survival instinct, something that cannot be measured by charts or reports, was a power they had never faced before. As the Andronis warships entered Earth's orbit, the entire fleet activated its stealth systems, confident that no one could detect their presence. However, down below, the advanced radar and satellite systems of humanity began to detect unusual activity. At NORAD, the U.S. military's command center, radar screens flickered red. A young technician shouted, "Something's wrong. I'm seeing large objects in space, but they're not clearly showing up." Senior officers immediately ordered further analysis. Within minutes, the signatures of the Andronis ships, though cloaked, were detected through the advanced detection techniques humanity had quietly developed. "We're under attack," a commander said, his voice calm but urgent. "Level 1 alert. All units ready for combat." Meanwhile, the Andronis ships began to descend into the atmosphere, preparing to launch plasma energy weapons. But what they didn't expect was that from underground, intercontinental ballistic missile, ICBM, launchers had been activated, targeting the coordinates of the suspicious objects. "Their defense systems are faster than we anticipated," an Andronis officer said, a hint of worry creeping into his voice. But the senior commanders of Andronis remained confident. "No problem. Our technology is far superior. Continue with the plan." However, they were wrong. And that mistake would soon become the most expensive lesson Andronis had ever learned. As the Andronis forces landed in major cities, they were completely unprepared for what awaited them, a tightly coordinated defense network and clever tactics designed to take on enemies superior in both technology and numbers. Contrary to their initial assumptions, Earth was not a weak prey, but a formidable adversary with a strong will to resist. The Andronis fleet deployed landing ships in New York, Tokyo, London, and other major cities. They began destroying vital infrastructure with plasma energy weapons, unleashing horrifying heat waves that incinerated everything within a several-kilometer radius. But as the Andronis soldiers advanced deeper into the cities, they quickly found themselves caught in a maze of chaos carefully designed by Earth's military strategists. From narrow streets and towering buildings to the underground subway systems, everything turned into a battlefield. Guerrilla tactics, which humanity had perfected over centuries, proved to be extremely effective. In New York, a small group of U.S. Marines ambushed a squad of Andronis soldiers patrolling the area. Using cleverly camouflaged mobile rocket launchers, they accurately targeted the enemy's combat robot control centers, crippling the entire enemy formation. Once the command structure was lost, the Andronis robotic units became useless, allowing Earth's forces to eliminate them in smaller, isolated groups. At the same time, in Tokyo, Japan's special forces carried out hit-and-run attacks within the subway system. By taking advantage of the cramped, dark terrain, they disoriented the invading forces, destroyed communication equipment, and cut off supply lines. Earth's special forces quickly realized that Andronis technology, although superior, relied heavily on remote control systems and high-frequency signals. Within the first few hours of the attack, military scientists deployed a series of jamming devices, rendering Andronis communications and weapons ineffective. In London, an army engineering unit used homemade drones equipped with short-range jamming devices to get close to Andronis command centers and disrupt their signals. This caused the enemy's automated weapons to fire at their own troops, creating chaos in the invading ranks. Across other major cities, thousands of compact jamming devices were deployed, from rooftops and windows to underground sewer systems. Andronis technology began to prove useless as it couldn't adapt to seemingly crude but surprisingly effective tactics. The most formidable element in Earth's resistance was the artificial intelligence system integrated into military command centers. At NORAD, the AI-named Sentinel was activated. Sentinel had the ability to analyze enemy behavior, predict their next moves, and provide immediate counterattack and defense strategies. Sentinel discovered that Andronis soldiers tended to move in fixed formations, relying heavily on their command robots. Instead of confronting them head-on, the system directed Earth's forces to focus on destroying the command robots, causing the enemy's formation to fall apart. In a battle in Moscow, Sentinel accurately predicted the time and location of Andronis troop transport ships landing. Based on this data, the Russian military positioned surface-to-air missile launchers at strategic points. As the landing ships came into range, a barrage of missiles was launched, destroying dozens of ships in just minutes. Human forces didn't just fight with weapons, they also employed psychological tactics to confuse and demoralize the enemy. In many locations, loudspeakers were placed in strategic areas, emitting sounds that disrupted Andronis' auditory sensors. In Berlin, a group of hackers infiltrated Andronis' communication systems, spreading false messages that led the enemy to believe that their own troops had been wiped out or betrayed. The Andronis army, accustomed to overwhelming their enemies with technological strength and superior tactics, now found themselves facing situations they had never encountered before. Commanding officers began to realize that humanity not only knew how to fight but was also extremely creative and adaptable in the most disadvantageous situations. Reports continued to flood into the Seal Stara command ship, where the Supreme Council was monitoring the campaign. The messages described the chaos, heavy losses, and the inability to cope with humanity's unconventional tactics, forcing Andronis' leaders to face a painful truth: Earth was not the easy battlefield they had envisioned. But while Andronis struggled to adjust their strategy, humanity continued to leverage its strength, pushing the invading forces back step by step, making the future of the war increasingly unpredictable. The Andronis army, once hailed as the invincible force of the galaxy, now faced an unexpected reality: Earth, the planet they had once scorned, was gradually defeating them with tactics their top strategists had never anticipated. From the early days of the war, the leaders of the Empire realized one clear truth: traditional tactics based on overwhelming power were not only ineffective, but counterproductive. Meanwhile, Earth's forces, despite having inferior technology, continuously leveraged their environment and creativity to disrupt the invasion campaign. One of the biggest surprises for Andronis was Earth's ability to exploit terrain. In the dense Amazon jungle, the invading Andronis forces found themselves trapped in a situation they could not overcome. Homemade traps lined the trails, from camouflaged pitfalls to self-made magnetic mines, killing many Andronis soldiers before they could even realize the danger. Local guerrilla forces, with their deep knowledge of the terrain, lured Andronis troops into advantageous fighting positions, where their advanced technology became useless. Andronis combat robots, designed to operate in urban environments or flat terrain, struggled to navigate through thick jungle canopies and rugged landscapes. In densely populated cities like Mumbai, Earth's military turned every street and building into a small fortress. The local population cooperated with the military, creating an excellent support network. Missile launchers and jamming devices were installed in unexpected places, such as abandoned buildings or even on moving trucks. These tactics not only inflicted heavy losses on Andronis' army but also kept them unable to predict humanity's next move. Another key turning point in the war was humanity's creativity and ability to improve upon technology. From the very beginning, engineers and military scientists worldwide began studying the debris and equipment captured from Andronis' forces. At a secret laboratory in Colorado, scientists successfully decoded Andronis' plasma energy technology. Within weeks, they had developed new weapons using this energy source. A handheld energy cannon, based on the enemy's technology, was deployed in subsequent battles, providing Earth's forces with an unexpected advantage. Elsewhere, at a secret military base in Siberia, engineers reprogrammed Andronis combat robots to turn them against their own army. These robots, with nearly impenetrable armor, became a nightmare for Andronis soldiers as they appeared within their own ranks. As casualties mounted, the morale of the Andronis soldiers began to decline. This was not only due to the defeats on the battlefield but also because of the profound cultural differences between them and humanity. While Earth's soldiers fought for family, home, and freedom, Andronis soldiers merely followed orders and fought for the honor of their empire. At the command base aboard the Seal Stara mothership, the Andronis Supreme Council began to fall into disarray. Reports from the front lines indicated escalating losses, fragmented fighting units, and disrupted supply chains. A heated debate broke out among the top commanders of Andronis. Some argued for reinforcing the invasion with more troops and deploying weapons of mass destruction to quickly end the campaign. However, the opposing faction warned that such an action could provoke even stronger resistance from humanity and risk a total defeat. On key battlefields, Earth's successive victories not only provided strategic advantages but also sparked hope for all of humanity. In the battle at Cairo, Earth's defenders defeated one of Andronis' largest fleets by using improved energy artillery and diversionary tactics. In Sydney, a special forces team successfully raided an Andronis forward command center, seizing valuable strategic data and crippling the enemy's coordination capabilities. The Andronis Empire now faced an unprecedented situation in its history. If they continued to fight, they risked losing more forces and resources, while further damaging their empire's reputation. But if they retreated, they would have to accept a humiliating defeat against a planet they had once dismissed. In a desperate attempt to salvage the situation, the Supreme Council decided to implement a dangerous plan, using biological weapons to wipe out much of Earth's population and weaken their resistance. However, just as this plan was being set in motion, a series of unforeseen events occurred, completely altering the course of the war. In the light of unprecedented sacrifices and unity, humanity not only managed to protect their planet but also sent a clear message across the galaxy: Earth, though small, was a symbol of courage, creativity, and an unyielding strength that could not be defeated. What was initially expected to be a swift victory for the Andronis Empire, a mere 3-week invasion, turned into a bitter lesson for the greatest military force in the galaxy. They not only failed to conquer Earth, but also suffered significant losses in personnel, resources, and reputation. The Andronis' retreat wasn't just an acknowledgement of defeat, it marked a turning point in how they viewed humanity. As the war dragged on, the Andronis' forces began to crumble from within. Supply lines were severed by Earth's strategic attacks. Convoys carrying fuel and weapons were destroyed or captured. This left the Andronis' fleets running low on energy, forcing them to retreat and abandon key strategic areas. Meanwhile, the morale of the Andronis soldiers plummeted. Trained for quick, overwhelming battles, they had never fought a prolonged war in such adverse conditions. Many began to question the leadership of their high-ranking commanders, as every strategic plan was being thwarted by Earth's unconventional tactics. At the temporary Andronis bases, heated debates about whether to continue fighting or retreat became a daily occurrence. Some believed retreating would be an unacceptable disgrace, while others warned that without withdrawal, they could lose their entire fleet and remaining forces. As the Supreme Council of Andronis analyzed the reasons behind their failure, one truth became clear: they had underestimated humanity's ability to adapt and innovate. Earth's military didn't just fight with existing weapons, they continually improved and created new solutions to counter Andronis' superior technology. We didn't fail because we lacked strength, but because we failed to understand our opponent. Earth is not just a planet with weak, primitive inhabitants. It is a place of resilience and extraordinary creativity. Humans don't fight just to survive, they fight to protect their freedom and their pride. Human military technology, once considered outdated, proved incredibly effective when applied correctly. A prime example was Earth's upgraded automated defense systems, originally based on older technologies, which successfully detected and neutralized Andronis stealth attacks. As the remaining Andronis forces returned to the Seal Stara mothership, the Supreme Council faced pressure from multiple sides. Conservative leaders called for revenge and preparation for a larger-scale invasion, while reformists argued that this failure was an opportunity to reassess their strategy and learn from their mistakes. During an emergency meeting, a young member of the council stood up and declared, "We may have conquered over 200 planets, but our failure on Earth has taught us that superior strength doesn't guarantee victory. Humans have shown us that willpower and creativity can defeat any superpower. If we don't learn from this failure, our empire will soon face further defeats." This speech sparked a heated debate within the council. While some still advocated for an expansionist approach through war, the idea of reconciliation and cooperation began to gain more support. On Earth, this victory not only brought peace but also ignited a powerful sense of pride among humanity. Nations that had once been divided by internal conflicts now stood united. Leaders across the world declared that this victory was not just for one nation or one army, but for all of humanity. A memorial statue was erected in Geneva, where one of the peace talks had taken place, talks that Andronis had rejected. The inscription read, "This is where humanity stood up, not only to protect itself but to send a message, we are one, and we will never be defeated." For the Andronis Empire, the failure on Earth left a deep, lasting scar. Many of the planets they had conquered began to rise up, inspired by humanity's victory. The Andronis fleets were split to suppress these rebellions, severely weakening the military strength of the empire. Internally, a wave of reform began to grow. Young politicians started calling for an end to conquest wars, advocating instead for the creation of a peaceful alliance with other planets. The war with Earth had changed both sides. Humanity learned that unity and creativity were key to facing any challenge. Meanwhile, the Andronis Empire came to realize that true power did not lie in conquest, but in understanding and cooperating with other civilizations. Though Earth had won, one question remained: was this the end of extraterrestrial threats, or just the beginning of a new era where understanding and cooperation would replace war and conquest? The first light of dawn after the final battle illuminated the ruined cities. In the sky, the Andronis warships had retreated, leaving behind a bitter lesson. But humanity's victory did not come from luck. It was the result of an unprecedented unity, creativity that far surpassed what the aliens could have imagined. From dark underground bunkers and old tanks to brilliant minds in small laboratories, all of it contributed to a story no one could have predicted. U.S. Navy sailors stood on the battlefield, gazing at the sky now peaceful again. They didn't celebrate, they didn't rush to declare victory. A young soldier looked up, his expression thoughtful. Is this really the end? Or is it just the beginning of something bigger waiting for us out there? Far away, in the darkness of space, a faint signal from Andronis echoed, like a warning and a promise. They had retreated, but did that mean they had given up? Or were they planning an even more brutal return? As the cameras slowly pulled away from Earth, showing the glowing blue planet under the sun's light, the question still hung in the air. How many more secrets does this vast universe hold, waiting for humanity to uncover? and what will we do when the final answer emerges? The viewers left with a sense of satisfaction that humanity had won, but also drawn into an endless stream of thoughts. A small planet like Earth, can it forever stand strong in a vast and dangerous universe?